Now let's look at fractions. So basically here on fractions, we're gonna look on how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. So you know that a fraction is a number that can be written that has a what? Let's say a over b, that has a denominator and a numerator. So at the top is a numerator and at the bottom is the denominator. So this is a fraction. So the first thing that we're going to look at is how to add fractions. So let's say, for example, we have what? We have a over b plus c over d. So how do we add fractions like this? So basically in mathematics, there are a number of ways to solve problems. But now I'm just going to show you how to solve problem. The way that I see is simple, but you can have another method on how you solve it that is still okay. So basically, for fractions, they actually call, you must find what you call the lowest common denominator here at the bottom. But for me, what I do actually find the highest common denominator by actually multiplying both the denominators of the fraction. Let's say now we have a fraction like this. So I'm basically going to say b multiplied by d and put it down as the denominator of a added fraction. So let's do that. So basically I'm going to say, okay, the denominator, I'm say b multiplied by d, and then it's going to be b d, and then after I multiplied here, so I'm going to go to the first fraction to say now at the first fraction. So what I basically say, this highest common denominator of mine, I'm just going to divide it with what is on the denominator of the first fraction, which is going to be what? Let me just write it at the other side here. So basically it's going to be BD divided by B. So when I have BD divided by B, so basically B will cancel B, and then I will be left with what? I will be left with D. So basically the number that I will be left with here, I will take this D and multiply it with what is at the top here, which is A now. So the answer here for the first fraction, it will be what? It will be AD. Because now this B will cancel out with B, and then I'm left with this D, and then this D that is left, I just take it to multiply with what is at the top of the fraction, which is A now, and the answer becomes AD. Then now I also do the same with this fraction here to say now at the bottom we have D, and then there at the bottom is BD. So I'm just gonna say when I divide BD by D, the D will cancel out and I will be left with B, and then this B will multiply with the C that is at the top of this fraction that I'm talking about here. So the answer, it will be plus, we keep the sign here as positive because it's positive there, and then it's gonna be C multiplied by D. It's going to be C multiplied by D, because let me just write it again at the bottom here. Remember we said we're going to have BD divided by D here. The denominators will divide. So it's going to be BD divided by D. And then these D's will cancel, and then we're going to be left with what? With B. And then with this B left, we're just going to multiply it with what is at the top of that fraction. And then our answer will just be this one. We just simplify it this way. Okay, let me just make an example with numbers. Let me erase here. Let me erase. Let's say, for example, we have 2 over 3 plus 5 over 2. So what are we going to do? So the first thing that we do, we basically multiply the denominators, and we keep that product of our denominators as our denominator of the answer that we're going to have is going to be 3 multiplied by 2. Okay, so this is our first step. And then the second step, it will be to go to the first fraction to say now, okay, these threes will cancel out and we will be left with what? With 2. So this 2 that is left is going to multiply with the 2 that is at the top. So basically we're going to have what? We're going to have 2 multiply by 2. So basically is this 2 that is at the top here multiplied by this 2 that is left after this one. Cancel out. And then we move to the next fraction to say now, okay, now the 2 will cancel out and we will be left with 3. So this 3 will multiply with the number that is at the top here, which is 5 in this case. So basically we're going to have what? We're going to have 5 multiply by 3. Okay, and then this fraction of ours can just simplify to say is 2 multiplied by 2. The answer will be 4 plus, and then this is 5 multiplied by 3, so this will be 15. At the bottom is going to be 3 multiplied by 2, which is how much? Which is 6. And then it will simplify to what? 4 plus 15, which is 19 all over 6. So that is how you add your fractions. Let me just check if the answer is correct. So 5 over 2. So when you put on your calculator, it will give you 19 over 6. Okay. So let's say, for example, now we have 3 fractions. So we're actually going to do the very same thing here. So let's say we have 3 functions, but now let me just move and say we're going to do those 3 functions when we are subtracting them, because when you add, you're actually going to apply the very same principle as when you subtract. So let's say now we have A over B subtract by C over D subtract by E over F. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to take the highest common factor, of which is going to be the product of all our denominators. The product of all our denominators. So in this case, we have 3 denominators. So it's going to be what? It's going to be B multiplied by D multiplied by F. Okay. And then now we go to the first fraction to say now at the first fraction, so B will be cancelled out and we'll be left with what? With DF. So this DF will multiply with what is at the top of the fraction. So it's going to be what? It's going to be A multiplied by what? Multiplied by DF. Just put in DF like this so that you can see that is the one that we are multiplying with. And then now you keep the sign negative here. So remember, we kept the sign positive when it was positive, but when it's negative here, we keep it as negative. And then now we move to the next fraction to say now we have what? We have D here, so this D will cancel the D out, and then we're going to be left with what? With BF, and then this BF will multiply the C that is at the top, and then it's going to be what? It's going to be multiplied by what? By BF. And then also going to do the very same thing to the last number. Just keep the subtraction. Now here the denominator we have F, and then this F will cancel the F here. We're going to be left with BD, and then this BD is going to multiply with E that is at the top. So we're going to be having E multiplied by BD. Okay, so this is how you actually add or subtract your fractions. So let me just erase and make a proper example that we can prove on our calculator. Let's say, for example, we have 2 over 3 minus, let's say, 4 over 2. Just keeping small numbers so that I can be able to do them with my head. Then it's 3 over, let's say, 4 here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just going to multiply all the denominators and keep it as our highest common denominator. Then we just put it down here. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 4. Okay. And then we do what? We go to the first term here. So remember, the 3 will cancel out here. So we're going to be left with what? With 2 multiplied by 4. So this 2 multiplied by 4, it will multiply with what? with the 2 that is at the top. So basically we're going to have 2 which will be multiplied by what? By 2 multiplied by 4 that is left. Okay, and then we keep the sign here, which is negative, and then we do the very same thing here to say at this fraction here we have 2 at the bottom, so the 2 will cancel out. You'll be left with 3 multiplied by 4. So this 3 multiplied by 4, it will multiply with the what? With the 4 that is at the top. So we're gonna have what? We're gonna have 4 multiplied by what? Multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4, because it's what is left at the denominator. And then also we're going to do the very same thing to the last term to say now we have 4 at the bottom, so this 4 will cancel the 4 out, and we are left with what? With 2 multiplied by, with actually 3 multiplied by 2, which is going to be multiplied with 3 at the top. Remember that you have to keep the sign. Now the sign is negative, you keep the sign as negative, so it's going to be 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2. So when you simplify, so basically it's going to be 2 multiplied by 4 is 8, and then 8 multiplied by 2 is going to be 16. So it's going to be 16 here. It's going to be 16, subtract, so now it's going to be what? 3 multiplied by 4, this is going to be 12, and then 12 multiplied by 4, this is going to be what? 48. So this will be 48. Let me subtract there. So inside here is going to be 3 multiplied by 2. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, and then 6 multiplied by 3. This is going to be 18. So you just put 18 there. Then you also what? You also multiply at the bottom. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by 2, which is going to be 6. 6 multiplied by 4, which is going to be 24. Then you just put the answer as 24. So when you add everything that is at the top there, so it's going to be 16 subtract 48 subtract 18, and then our answer is going to be negative 50 at the top, and then all divided by 24. So basically you see there 50 divided by 24, you can divide both things by 2. 50 divided by negative 50 divided by 24. If you divide them by 2, you divide 50 by 2, therefore it's going to be what? It's going to be 25 over 12. Okay, you divide both things by 2, it's going to be 25 over 12. You are dividing by 2 here because you can see both the numbers are even, so 2 can go into 50, 2 can also go into 24. So it's your negative 50 divided by 2 is going to be 25. And then now you can say what? 24 divided by 2 is going to be 12. And then this will be our answer. So when you put the numbers in your calculator to check, it's going to be 2 over 3 subtract 4 over 2 subtract now 3 over 4. The answer should be negative 25 over 12. Okay, and now let's go to see to how to multiply or divide fractions. So the next one, it will be what? It will be how to multiply fractions. So let's say, for example, we now have what? We now have A over B multiplied by what? By C over D. So basically when we have we multiply fractions, so it's very easy in this case. So what is at the top will multiply with what is at the top, and what is at the bottom will multiply what is at the bottom. That's as easy as it is when you multiply. So your answer is going to be what? It's going to be AC, because it's going to be A multiplied by C, all divided by the denominator, which is going to be B multiplied by D. So the multiplication, that is how easy it is. Okay, let's say we do now a real number. To say now we have what? Let's say we have 2 over 3 multiplied by 4 over 5. So basically we're going to say what? We're now going to say 2 multiplied by 4. We're going to multiply the ones that are the numerator, and then we're also going to multiply the denominators. So numerator is going to be 2 multiplied by 4, and then the denominator is going to be 3 multiplied by 5. Then the it's going to be what? 2 multiplied by 4 is going to be 8, and then 3 multiplied by 5 is going to be 15. So this is going to be the answer. Okay, so we basically will do the very same thing if you have another term here. Let's say, for example, you add another term to say now is 2 over 2. It doesn't matter, we're just making an example. So basically what you're gonna do, you will just have to do what? You just have to multiply what is at the top there, everything that is at the top. So it's gonna be 2 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 2. Okay, so you just include the third term, and then the bottom is 3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 2. And then now this 2 will cancel this 2. Basically, you know that you can cancel that, but I just wanted to show you here, and then you will have the same answer as you had, which is 15. Okay, so lastly, we're going to look at how to do what? How to divide fractions. Okay, so we're going to look at how to divide fractions. Let's say, for example, we have A over B divided by what? By C over D. So basically, when you divide fractions, what you do, you don't actually divide like that. You have to do what? You have to change this division sign into multiplication, and then you just do the same thing as multiplication. But now be aware, when you change the sign of division, your fraction at your right will change. The denominator will become a numerator, and then the numerator will become the denominator. They will swap like that. So let's say, for example, in this one, you're gonna have what we're gonna say. This one, you will keep it the same as it is, which is gonna be A over B. And then now when you change the sign of division to be multiplication, this one will swap here. What is at the bottom will come at the top, and what is at the top will come at the bottom. And then we will have what? We'll have D over C. And then now we just continue to multiply normal way, which is going to be A multiplied by D, which is AD. And then at the bottom, which is going to be BC, which is because it's B multiplied by C. So let's make a proper example. Okay. Let's say we have what? We have 3 over 2 divided by, let's say, 5 over 7. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just gonna change the multiplication. Remember, we're gonna keep the first term the same, and then when you change this division to be multiplication, this one will swap. What is at the bottom will come at the top, what is at the top will go to the bottom. So basically we keep what? 3 over 2 the same, and then when we multiply, we change this division to be multiplication. It's going to be 7 is going to be at the top, and then 5 is going to go at the bottom. And then now we say 7 multiplied by 3, which is going to be 21. And then also what you say 2 multiplied by 5, which is going to be 10. And then now you're going to have 21 divided by 10, of which is going to be 21 divided by 10. Okay, thank you very much.